Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. I only bought one issue last week at the shop, and I do have a bunch of other stuff off to the side that I'll talk about once I get through this, but it was a very lean week for me at the shop. So, G.I. Joe 17, this ends the Dreadnought War, and I think I want to say next week that we're getting G.I. Joe 18, which should be the Roadblock standalone issue, and it's either 19 or 20 where Duke and Optimus meet for the first time in the Energon universe, and I'm looking forward to that. So there's good stuff coming up. This is excellent. Berg read this, and before I had read it, he was talking about something happening in here. Well, one, he was talking about after reading this, wanting to buy multiple toys. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's not unusual for Berg, but I was curious about what happened, and then he lays it on me that after reading this, he wants to reread the entire kind of Energon Transformers G.I. Joe universe. And I'm like, all right, something definitely happens here. And that is true, and it does recolor everything that has previously happened, and I think I'm in the same boat with him where I want to go back and reread and see what foundation has been laid throughout both series so far. So I'm being vague about it, but it's a really well done issue. The scene, the incident that happens, really, I'm very curious where that leads going forward, and I believe Duke is going to be very upset for quite some time. Because in this, so Clutch has been teamed up with Hound for a while, and Duke finds out about this issue, and when he finds out about this other thing, he's going to be more upset. What I enjoy, I think, the most about this version of G.I. Joe is there's so much the underdog, because both personnel wise their team is so much smaller than Cobra, who has a massive organization. They have the Energon weapons that the Joes are still struggling to figure out, and now what happens here, they're even like, it's really well done. It's exceptionally well done. But in Dreadnought War, I'm being very vague about everything. The Dreadnought War does conclude, and Hound shows up to help, because otherwise the Joes definitely would have lost. But I had been buying this on an issue-by-issue basis, and that's still true as of now, but I think I'm going to actually subscribe to it, because I'd been kind of waffling on Williamson as a writer, and I'm like, I don't know if I like him enough to fully commit, even though I have bought 17 issues and I've signed up for the next few. The art is consistently great, but I wasn't fully convinced, even 17 issues in, about the writing, and now I think I'm going to say he's operating at a higher level than I give him credit for. So really well done. I'm still being very vague about what happens here, but Commander versus Dreadnoks, and then the Joes show up trying to save Cobra Commander, who doesn't honestly need saving, and then things turn on the Joes, and then more Cobra show up, and it's really well done. It's just really well done. I recommend it. Grab some trades if you are curious about catching up with Joe, and the standalone issues that have come out so far are great. I would say taste tests for the series in general. So there was one before, I can't remember anyone's name, but the Roadblock one is coming out. It should be next week, and the previous one, Beachhead? No, maybe? I don't remember now. Previous one was well done, and I think there was one before that as well. So, try it out, see what I'm raving about, and see for yourself. So that's the only issue that I bought this week, but I mentioned last week that I had gotten through a bunch of stuff that I wasn't yet talking about. So the first up of those, I bought Kaya a while back after reading the Colossal Kaya one-shot, and I really enjoyed that. I kind of fell in love with where the characters were and the story at that point, so I went back. This is volume 1, and I'm not yet, after reading this, in love to the same degree. I did just ask my comic shop to get me volume 2. I'd like to get from A to N, I'll say, because it's not the end of the series yet, but I want to see that journey in order to get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is good. I would like to find out how these characters got here, and this is the beginning of that, and I can't honestly say that I'm in love with it as much as I was the one shot, but I'm going to continue buying it, and I'll probably get the whole thing. But I've read this. It is good. It's the start of a journey. This is a brother and sister, and they are journeying across the world, and there's all sorts of things along the way. So there's lizard people, and there are these robot things, and she really doesn't like that she's kind of burdened by him, and so they're constantly at each other's throats, and it's good, but it's not as good as the one shot. So I can't, I don't know, I am recommending it, but I can't like full-throatedly recommend it. Anyway, sounds like faint praise, but I did just sign up for the second trade, and I'll talk about that as soon as I've read it. What I have been reading is I'll talk about this next. I have been reading a bunch of Criminal, because much like Kaya, there was a Criminal one shot, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy Brubaker and Phillips in general, but I had been avoiding Criminal because I thought I didn't like it based on something that's at the very beginning of Criminal. Anyway, so I read Coward, I read Lawless, I read The Dead and the Dying, and I read Cruel Summer on top of what I had previously read, which was, now I can't remember, Bad Weekend and Knives. And I need to go back and check Knives, because it seems like Lawless doesn't quite jive with that, but I think somehow it does, because Lawless and Cruel Summer have a similar... What is happening with Criminal in general is we're following the criminal element in a fictional city, and there's a lot of crossover overlap between these characters' lives. There's a multi-generational thing going on where Tracy here is the son of a previous character named Teague, but they're both Lawlesses. And it's... I'm just going to say, Cruel Summer is so far the best one that I've read. I've read, at this point, I believe, 6 out of the 11 collections that have come out, and Cruel Summer is so well executed. But all of it is good. All of it is the Brubaker and Phillips that I want. And all of this is, I think, the new printings gearing up for the Amazon show that's coming, I think, in the summer. But based on IMDb listings, I believe what is being adapted is both Coward and Lawless, based on the cast character names. So it is really well done. It's what I wanted. I was stupid to have avoided it for as long as I did. Cruel Summer, though, it's sort of the series as a whole distilled down to an extremely well executed story where many characters, I'd have to count to figure out how many exactly, but many characters are involved in... There's multiple crimes that are being planned and executed, and all of it ends I don't even know how to find the words, but it's extremely well executed. What I sometimes complain about in other comics is how characters are acting in a way that doesn't seem natural. And in this, in Criminal as a whole, every character very much has their own agenda, and it's the brief alignments where those agendas overlap with other characters, and most often where those differing agendas come into conflict with one another, where all of it comes together. It's extremely well done. Cruel Summer is one of the best things that I've read in quite some time, but it's the criminal universe distilled down into, I don't know, 8 issues maybe of overlapping agendas, characters. Oh, there's knives. Characters, so many characters interacting with one another in ways that are natural yet unexpected, and it's extremely well done. As I said, Cruel Summer is one of the best that I've read, period. But it is thus far my favorite criminal trade. A couple of days ago, Dan handed me these 2 volumes of Turtles Urban Legends. I know nothing about this era, but he had a duplicate set of these trades, and I'm looking forward to these. I've thumbed through them thus far. I don't know anything about them. I will give them a read, and I'm pretty curious to see what's going on here. I will talk about them as soon as I have read them, but I received these. And then lastly, I got this off at Amazon. This is Conan the Barbarian. This is the Omnibus number 2. I skipped one. I read the Reforged magazine collection, the colorized one. This is a couple of months back as a test to see if I wanted to go back and read Roy Thomas Conan stuff from 70s and 80s. Is it just the 80s? I don't know. I have no idea. I've thumbed through this. I chose volume 2 instead of volume 1 because this has more John Buscema, and it has a team up between Conan and Red Sonja. But this is, I don't know how many, 800 pages, 900? It's a huge book. But I would like to crack into this. This is going to absolutely take me a while to get through, and I will talk about this as soon as I can. But I got this for only, there was a coupon that took another $20 off. It was like 72. I got it for 55, which is an absolute steal. So I do support, I talk about my comic shop being great, but I do still buy stuff off of Amazon sometimes when it's just stupidly cheap. Anyway, I got this. I'm looking forward to it. There's some Gil Kane. I'll talk about it as soon as I've read it. So I think that is everything that I got, even though I haven't read all of it yet. But G.I. Joe, as the lone book that I bought this week, is pick of the week, and it earns that spot. The vague thing that I've been referring to really turns particularly the Joe world on its ear, and I very much look forward to seeing what happens next. There's something on the Cobra side that has been happening throughout the Dreadnought War, and by the end of this, when I said that more Cobra join the fight between the Dreadnoughts and Cobra Commander, like, that is its own level of drama that I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But there's multiple aspects of this that I very much want to continue seeing develop, and it's well done. So that is everything that I got this week, except for Conan. I got all of it from my local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thank you for watching. I do have much more comics next week, so I'll have a regular amount of books next week to talk about.